Happy Sabbath. This afternoon, I begin my remarks with a reading from 1 Timothy, the contemporary English version of 1 Timothy chapter 5 and verse 2. It says, "Treat older women as you would your own mother. Show the same respect to younger women that you would to your sister." Today, on the International Day for the Elimination of Violence Against Women, I encourage you all to make a simple pledge. Let's pledge to treat each woman and girl in the same way as we would wish for our grandmothers, our mothers, our sisters, and our daughters to be treated. If we treated each other, man and woman, as we should, as we would wish to be treated ourselves, I believe we would not have the major challenge that we have in Jamaica and across the world with violence against women and girls or violence against men and boys. Dealing with this crime, which is a major evil in our world today, requires action from all of us. Government has a role to play, yes, and government must lead. The community has a role to play. The church has a role to play. But most importantly, each of us, in our own individual capacity, has a role to play. And I want to see if everybody in here agrees with me. If you just put up your hand, each of us as individuals have a role to play. The first step is in eliminating violence begins with each of us. Sometimes you feel angry, you feel like you're just, you know what I mean? I don't even have to say it, right? But you have to control yourself, because sometimes you're vexed bad. But we have to control ourselves. I mean, the most painful experience is to see those parents, those mothers who love their children, beating them, thinking that when they beat them, they will make them good children. But I think love and care, when one expresses that and shows that to our children, they grow up to be more caring individuals. When we all say that enough is enough, when we say that the violence must end, when we take a stand against violence and offer no comfort to perpetrators, when we expose them, when we stop turning a blind eye to the gender violence that we know goes on next door, when we create a culture that promotes a harmonious world in which men and women live together with gender equality, when we are serious about stopping it, the violence will end. This year, International Day for the Elimination of Violence Against Women comes at the height of the Me Too movement. That movement, named for its hashtag, has become a way for women and also men to use social media to tell their experience with sexual violence and to stand in solidarity with other victims. We have been calling for a long time for an end to the silence around gender violence in Jamaica. Hashtag #MeToo offers an important platform for victims who have suffered for years in silence to confront their attackers, to heal, and to receive closure. It is also an opportunity to ensure that the perpetrators, even after many years, are held account. And I'm sure all of you see what's happening in the news, both in England and the US, where perpetrators are now being pointed out. It's unbelievable what is happening across the world. Me Too is a revolution, a wake-up call, and a turning point for the entire world, the whole world. It has made clear the insidiousness and prevalence of sexual harassment and assault. And I just want to tell you that in another week, maximum 2 weeks, we will be taking the sexual harassment bill to cabinet and then to have it taken to Parliament. It has helped to put faces to the ugly statistic that 1 out of every 3 women will become a victim of violence. 1 out of 3, which means that there are likely to be victims here with us this afternoon. And certainly, we each know at least 1 woman or girl who has suffered or is suffering from violence. The latest figures from the police show the extent of the problem that we face here in Jamaica. The police report that between January last year and February this year, and just brace yourself for this, 150 women were murdered. 263 women were shot. 530 women were raped. 511 girls under the age of 16 reported sexual violations, and 370 women experienced other forms of sexual violations. And these are the things that have been reported. Can you imagine what has not been reported? Jamaica will have to do better than this. I support the idea of general deterrence, which the belief that people will not commit an offense because of fear of punishment. But I must confess, I would modify that statement slightly. People will not commit an offense if they know that they will be caught and punished. So while we as government and legislatures have been enacting and amending laws to protect victims and punish perpetrators, while we hear your submissions on how to increase penalties and provide greater protection for victims, while we have devised and have started to implement a 10-year national strategic plan to eliminate gender-based violence, we are very aware that the success of the measures will depend on your commitment to help each victim and to catch the perpetrators and put them away. For too long, too many of the men and women who commit, because we're not just focused on violence against women and our girls. We are concerned about violence against our men and our boys. And sometimes the men get a little touch here and there, And it's about human rights. It's about justice for all. So, for too long, many of our men and women who commit sexual assault, domestic violence, relationship abuse, sexual harassment, and sexual abuse of children are able to get away scot-free. They bully their victims, but they also depend on us, who, like cronies or accessories to their crimes, will see and blind, hear and deaf. When I was growing up, my grandmother used to say to me, some people talk too much. You must see and blind and hear and deaf. But she wasn't referring to the violence that is taking place today. And so, although many of you may have been told you must see and blind, hear and deaf, in this instance, don't turn the blind eye. Today, let us commit to that we will no longer be enablers or accessories to the violence. Let us commit to bawl out against the violence. Let us commit to be our sister's keeper and our brother's keeper and report acts of violence. I note that the Seventh-day Adventist Church has the End It Now initiative, and I noticed I could see it on the screen up there and the banner. And I commend you and pray for the success of this initiative. I pray that God will strengthen us as we all get involved in creating the Jamaica that we all want to live in, a country of peace and prosperity. Let us commit to the theme for the International Day for the Elimination of Violence Against Women. Leave no one behind. End violence against women and girls. I encourage you to use today and the 16 days of activism which follow to make a stand against violence and to stand up for the protection of women and children. And just before I close, I want to say that I was really impressed with the youth choir. And I was particularly impressed with the bell ringing. And you know, I'm going to be at another place tomorrow where we're going to be ringing a lot of bells. And so I want to say joy bells are ringing. I thank you, God bless you, and may God continue to bless and protect Jamaica, land we love. Thank you very much.